Welcome to Pennsylvania Newsmakers, and as always, thanks for watching. Well, they're out to get your money. Brian Roche will tell you how, and then how are hospitals preparing for the papal visit? Andy Carter joins me, and we'll find out also how.
This is Pennsylvania Newsmakers, a fast-paced, unrehearsed weekly discussion with and about the leaders who shape your world. And now, here's your host, Terry Madonna.
Well, we have a very timely show today. Brian Roche is here. He's the consumer investigator for WGAL-TV. He's also one of the news anchors on that station. All right, Brian, you specialize in these consumer fraud situations. You've been reporting on these for many years. Let's go through a couple of the big ones that you've talked about lately. The IRS threat. We're normally always a little nervous about the Internal Revenue Service anyway, right?
Absolutely, and this call scares people to death. Scammers have become impatient trying to con money out of us, which it takes a long time, so they're just calling us and threatening us now. And this involves a call from someone claiming to be from the IRS, usually someone with a very thick foreign accent, but they have a very simple name, John Smith, Bob Jones, and they're telling you that you have not paid your taxes or you've committed some kind of penalty or incurred some kind of penalty with the IRS, and you need to pay right now over the phone. And it scares people to death because they think their wages are going to be garnished, they're going to lose their home. It's petrifying, but people need to realize the IRS never calls you. They never call you. If there's really a problem, they're going to send you a letter and ask you to come to the office for a little visit. They're not going to ask for immediate payment.
People really pay? I mean, people send money in, Brian?
People are scared, Terry. They get this phone call, especially law-abiding citizens who have paid their taxes on time their whole life.
Wow.
All of a sudden, they get this particular call, and it scares them to death. It'll cost them hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars.
Oh, my gosh. All right, lawsuit threats.
Well, we keep going down the threat. The threat scam is a big growing area for these scammers. They will call you and threaten you with a lawsuit. A lawsuit has been filed in the county courthouse, or an arrest warrant has been issued for you. You need to take care of this right now. If you pay me $300, $500, $700 now over the phone, we can take care of this penalty and it can all go away. Same thing applies. If you have a problem here, you're going to be either getting a letter or a police officer is going to visit your door. You're not going to be asked to send money over the phone.
Now, I got 2 emails within the past 2 weeks telling me that I have a date in court, a date in court to appeal something or to appear. I have no clue. I didn't open it up. I just deleted it.
And this is the scam we're talking about. Again, you get that kind of email and you're scared because you've been a law-abiding citizen, I assume, your whole life, and you're okay. But you get this kind of thing, and it's really scary. The most scariest version of this threat scam is what we call the kidnap ransom scam. I've heard of this very rarely, but people will actually get a phone call saying that your son, daughter, loved one was involved in an accident with me, and I'm a drug dealer, and I don't like to deal with the insurance, and I don't want to deal with the police. You need to send me $2,000, $5,000 right now to pay for the damages on my car, or I'm going to injure or even kill your loved one. It's an extortion scam. It's a kidnap scam. That one really makes me angry, and they have gotten people with that particular one. That one's very rare, though.
And you have arrest threats. That's they're
same as the lawsuit scam that you mentioned. Yeah, they call you pretending to be from the sheriff's department or the local police department. And here's what gets people with this one, Terry. The scammers have the ability to spoof. They create a fake telephone number that shows up on your caller ID that's from your local police department or from your local sheriff's department. So it adds a lot more credibility to it. However, again, they have a very thick foreign accent, and they're threatening you with arrest or some kind of legal action. If you don't pay, we're going to come to your house, pick you up, or I'm going to come to your job and pick you up.
Yeah, see, that's the one that really surprises me, that they're actually... It's not just, okay, we want the money. If you don't send the money, that's fine. They move on to the next target. But we're going to come and do injury to you or your families. I mean, are most of these coming from out of the country?
Yes, most of them are coming from out of the country. Again, almost all of them, the people who reported to me, the caller has a foreign accent.
Wow.
We believe that most of these calls are coming from India, Pakistan, Southeast Asia. Again, very thick foreign accents. However, recently, about 2-3 months ago, a gentleman was arrested, and I use the term gentleman loosely, was arrested in Brooklyn, New York for running the IRS threat scam here on U.S. soil.
All right, we're going to run to a break. When we come back, I want to ask Brian a couple of questions. One, how do they get your money, which is important? And then how do they contact and target their victims? Two very important questions. We'll be back with that and more.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry, the statewide voice of business. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Highway Information Association, the go-to source to learn about transportation projects and issues. Please visit pahighwayinfo.org. And by the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. Business in Pennsylvania is our business.
Brian Roche from WGAL-TV News is with me. He's the consumer investigator for the station. We're talking about threat scams. And we were talking at the break, Brian, about, are they targeting younger folks, older folks? It's how do they contact and target their take that?
Most of the time, I hear from older viewers because they're home most of the time they can answer the phone. Yeah. Most older viewers, though, they don't fall for it. They know that this is a scam. But a surprising amount of young people fall for this, Terry, because they don't realize how the legal system works or how an arrest warrant is really issued or how the IRS really works. So when I find out about someone losing money, it's usually a younger person, right, and they lose a lot of money. The scammers don't necessarily target people. They have, in most cases, they have auto dialers. Computer software that simply starts dialing numbers. They don't necessarily target you, Terry Madonna, right, to call. They just call your number. And if you happen to answer the phone, you're in the bullseye.
All right, so you got a couple of ways this happens. One is by phone, which we just talked about, and then my point was I got one, and you said you get them routinely. It's a wonder they don't know better than to get a hold of you. That you're going to end up reporting this, right?
I have received the phone calls, and I have actually received the emails. But again, they're not targeting me as an individual. It's just me. What they do is they'll either, about 90% of scams either come through the phone or email. If they're coming at you on the phone, they're attacking you. They're reaching out to get you. Scaring you. If it's through the email, they're trying to lure you. They're trying to entice you to say, oh, you need to do something with this. But there's no one particular age group that they target. Everyone, and I mean everyone, can be in the bullseye. I would be surprised at this point if someone in this country has not received the IRS threat phone call.
Oh my gosh. All right, so the other thing I want to ask you about is, well, how do they get your money? How do you want to fork over some cash? Do you write a check?
No, they don't like cash. They like electronic transfers. And it used to be very popular for the scammers to use wire transfers. MoneyGram, Western Union, Vigo, they want you to use that because it can't be traced. They'll tell you that they're sitting in New York City or Los Angeles. But once they get the number off the wire transfer, they can take that money and go anywhere. But now the scammers are getting away from that, Terry, because that involves a third party. And many times the third party would say, sir, where are you sending this money? This is probably a scam. Now, what they want us to use are these prepaid cash cards. The next time you go into your local supermarket or you see the Visa card, the MasterCard, they want you to go and use them because that eliminates the third party. You go in, you buy it, you give Mr. Scammer the control number off the back, and he gets your money wherever he wants. So anyone asking you to use these prepaid cash cards, it's probably skimmy. Now, the cash cards, I shouldn't disparage them. They're good. If you have a family member you want to give a gift to, they're fantastic.
Do that all the time for grandkids.
I give them to my kids. But scammers will use these.
All right, here's one. I won the lottery? Come on. I want to win the lottery.
This one's older than dirt. You get a phone call, quite often claiming to be from Publishers Clearinghouse. Or, Terry Madonna, you've won the lottery, but all you need to do to get your money is pay me $500 through one of these cash cards. Folks, you never have to pay money to get money. If you win $10,000, you know they're going to take the taxes out and you get what's left.
I'm going to the lottery office in Harrisburg in person. Is that right?
That's how you're going to get them.
In person. All right. Wonderful update. You're going to come back and give us some more. I can't get over the complexity of how complex this has become, Brian. I mean, it's not simple anymore, is it?
I've said it before, I'll say it again. If they would put as much energy into solving the world's problems as they do into creating these scams, the world would be a much better place.
All right, Andy Carter from the Hospital and Healthsystem Association. We have a big papal visit. The hospitals are directly involved in doing the planning on taking care of some folks that, hopefully they won't have to take care of, but might. We'll be back with Andy following these words.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by Pennsylvania Credit Union Association. Pennsylvania Credit Unions, where people are worth more than money. To find a credit union that is right for you, check out ibelong.org. And by the Energy Association of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania's energy information source. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Hospital and Healthsystem Association of Pennsylvania, working towards a healthy Pennsylvania, and by the Pennsylvania Coal Alliance, representing companies involved in America's most affordable, reliable energy source. To learn more, visit pacoalalliance.com.
Welcome back to the program. Andy Carter joins me. He's the president and CEO of the Hospital and Healthsystem Association of Pennsylvania. I'll tell you, I'm actually excited. The Pope is coming. A couple of million people are going to show up. The logistics are seemingly like a nightmare, but they're working them all out. And I didn't realize until I think you had a recent release that you all are heavily involved in, hopefully you won't be needed, but you get my point. So get into some of the specifics of that.
Well, ever since the visit was announced in March, we've been hard at work getting ready because, as you said, as many as 2 million people flowing into the city. We have to be ready. That's kind of in our DNA as hospitals, to be ready for large events that could be that could unfold. So we're ready.
So are there specific steps that you're taking that we should talk about?
Yeah, I think it's important that as people contemplate going to the event, that they feel reassured that if there's a healthcare emergency for themselves or their family, or if there's some kind of unexpected event, that we are ready. And how we're getting ready is things like, number one, there will be traffic restrictions. The security folks are very clear that they have to control the flow of traffic. So that raises issues for how we get employees to work, to be ready to care for patients.
Didn't even think about that.
So we are bringing folks in a couple of days early and housing them at our hospital campuses. One hospital that, when it gets ready for a snowstorm, for example, it typically would bring in 300 people to be ready to provide care. For this event, because it goes on over a few days, we're treating it more like a multi-day blizzard. So as many as 2,000 people are being brought in
so
to that
are they
hospital.
They'll stay on site then, either in hotels right by the hospitals or right on the
Typically, they will be
stay
in
right
the hospital.
in cots,
In
I
cots,
guess.
we're ordering
I get
up
it.
thousands of cots to
Oh my God.
accommodate physicians, nurses, and other clinical folks, and housekeeping staff. Patients are going to expect operations to continue normally, so that kind of advanced work has to be done.
And God forbid that this, we obviously you hope you don't have to do anything. We get that, but if you have some kind of mass, you're right. You could have to treat hundreds of people should something unexpected happen.
That's what we train for. We have an emergency preparedness team that helps our hospitals be ready, just like when the Amtrak train derailed a couple of months ago. We were taking patients into our hospitals. So we have medical facilities sprinkled throughout the event itself, medical tents. We even have a mobile field hospital ready to go in case we have really significant injuries that we have to take care of before we can get someone off to a hospital.
And you have supplies you have to double up or triple up and make sure you have, because if you have an emergency, you don't want to be running out of. And additionally, not just that, but there are also these restrictions. Presumably, the medical personnel will be able to move around those if there's an emergency.
Those are the kinds of conversations we're having with the emergency and security authorities, is to make sure that people can get to needed care. And if people have a situation that emerges, they should be thinking in terms of calling 911. Because 911 is also getting ready to connect wherever a patient is to the best place for them to get care.
Now, one of the things that I'm thinking about is how great and I'm not just saying this because you're sitting next to me or across from me, is I mean, you're talking about an area of the country with some great, hospitals and wonderful physician groups. I mean, this is a place that's world class. So, I mean, that's another aspect that, and the expectation is high. I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
Well, they should be high.
Yeah.
And again, preparation really matters. Everything from getting those, you mentioned supplies. We have to make sure we have medical supplies, but also food and housekeeping supplies in place ahead of time, because those delivery trucks can't get into the area during the event. So all that's being worked out in advance. And people have expectations that the same world-class care that they've come to know and appreciate will continue. You have people who were originally scheduled to have surgery on the Friday before the Pope's arrival.
That's another point.
Those have been rescheduled either before or after.
Yeah.
We have expectant moms who are due. Their due date is on the days around the papal visit. So we're working with those expectant moms to make arrangements that make sense for them and that their doctor approves of.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, these are some things that you normally wouldn't think about that obviously you're in your planning, you think about, but okay, I'm scheduled to have a surgery. If it's not life-threatening, if it's something that can wait a couple of weeks, I need my gallbladder out, okay, or, I'm going in for a routine examination that can wait a couple of days or a week. You're working on dealing with those situations case by case, I would presume.
That, and remember, those 2 million people, a lot of them are coming from foreign countries and will not speak English. So we're good at being prepared to speak to patients in a number of languages. For this event, we're taking extra steps to make sure hospitals are ready to work with patients who speak as many as 90 different languages. So that's the kind of accommodation you want to make for an event, a world event.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, there's one of the Philadelphia television stations is covering a family that's driving from South America. Did you see? Have you caught that? The vehicle's broken down, and that's exactly in one way what you're talking about,
Again,
right?
there will be a wide diversity of people at this event, which is very exciting, not only for Philadelphia, but for the region and the whole Commonwealth.
Nation. Yeah.
And they will have things happen, even if there's no dramatic event.
Right.
People will stumble, they'll injure an ankle, or they'll suffer heat exhaustion.
Sure.
So we'll be there with medical professionals throughout the area to support their care.
All right, I'm chatting with Andy Carter. We just got a great update on how hospitals are preparing for the papal visit. Now it wouldn't be a Newsmakers program if we didn't talk about the state budget and the impact that the state budget will have on the hospitals in the state. We'll take that up after these words.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Medical Society. Inspired physicians committed to the good health of Pennsylvanians and the advancement of the practice of medicine. And by the Pennsylvania Healthcare Association, the future of long-term care. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Business Council and by the Pennsylvania Business Council Education Foundation.
I'm joined by Andy Carter. He heads the Hospital and Healthsystem Association of Pennsylvania. We're chatting about the papal visit. We're going to talk about the budget, but before, you made a great point at the break and continue about what people should do if they can, right? Go.
Yeah, the fact that we're ready for people who might be ill or have some sort of incident doesn't mean that people shouldn't be excited about this opportunity to attend a world event of this magnitude. It's going to be very exciting for the city, and I certainly want people to think about being there and witnessing history in America.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right. 2 million people. It's a logistical problem that the Philly officials have been working on, and I know you've been working on your important piece of it, so we'll see how that all goes. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the budget. What is it that you think the budget ought to do to assist hospitals serve patients in this state?
Job one, do no harm. And, there's a strong public-private partnership between hospitals and the Commonwealth to support the providing of excellent health care. And unfortunately, the governor's budget took a step back away from hospitals to the tune of moving almost $170 million out of hospitals to help balance the budget. Fortunately, the legislative budget takes a very different tack, not only reduces significantly the amount that it envisions taxing hospitals, and that's a whole other conversation, but reducing the tax substantially, but also finding new resources to invest in what hospitals are doing, to invest in new computer records for patients, to help improve quality, to move care to where people want it. They want it in their communities. They want it more conveniently. These take resources.
Yeah.
So the legislative budget that's on the table does a much better job of sticking with hospitals on that journey to better care.
Well, I mean, this battle has been going on now for, we're into the third month with and you say that the budget that the legislature passed, that the governor vetoed, Republican, controlled legislature passed the governor. You think that in some compromise, and that's where this has got ahead, that it's likely that the hospital funding will remain or not remain? What's your sense about that as you talk with folks?
Well, what we're doing is telling anybody who wants to know that the legislative plan, which opens the window for an improvement in resources for hospitals, is the right plan. Right. Now, how that's all going to play out, I can't say. But what I can say is that people in the Commonwealth want to see their healthcare delivery system stay in place and get better. And whatever budget emerges from these conversations has to honor that commitment that we've made to the public.
Before I let you go, I want to, you and I have talked about this before. The governor has, on the Medicaid side of things, transferred, got away from Healthy PA, and he's enrolled, the last report I read, something like 1 million people. How does that affect you?
Well, that's going well. We're excited by the enrollment. We appreciated the governor's leadership in moving to a simpler and easier expansion. It's too early to tell how it's going. People are enjoying coverage. As you said, hundreds of thousands of additional people have coverage. But the extent to which they're using health care and coming to hospitals, it's still too early to say. But we're watching it closely.
Too early to say. But the point is that you had folks, you're obligated under state law, and you would morally, I don't know any hospital, turn anybody down to take care of patients who come in, even if they don't have money. But, the fact is that you need to be paid. And I don't want to be crass about it, but go ahead.
Well, we do need to be paid so that we can be there for the community.
Yeah.
We have to pay the bills. And more insurance coverage is good. One of the challenges that we have to keep an eye on is the extent to which people are buying insurance products that leave them on the hook for big deductibles.
Yeah, that's a great point. Look, I want to thank you for coming in. We'll follow this papal visit, and hopefully everything will go well. But thanks for a great job. All right, we'll see you next week for another edition of Pennsylvania Newsmakers. And as always, stay well.